Hello, I am Ash Snow, undergraduate music student at the University of Washington, and last summer I studied under Dr. James Cottingham at Coe College to understand the sympathetic resonance of pipe organs and their effects on concert hall acoustics. So, how do pipe organs affect the concert hall acoustics? Pictured is the Seattle Symphony playing at Benaroya Hall, which I've been to many times, and they have this huge Fisk pipe organ that almost never gets used. It just sits there. And I always wonder, does this meaningfully contribute to this great concert hall? And if it does, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Should we celebrate it or minimize it? Would we rather have a wall right there? The Elbphilharmonie in Hamburg, Germany does just that. They actually have it above a ceiling for the most part. So basically, that's what I want to know. Is that a good thing or not? Should we hide it away or keep it as a prominent acoustic agent in the room? One way that I hypothesize the pipe organ affecting the concert hall is through sympathetic resonance. When you play a tone of a specific frequency and there's some other resonating body also tuned to that frequency, it will respond to the sound in the air. It happens all the time in piano strings, in tuning forks, and in pipes. Pipes are a resonating body, and they sympathetically resonate. So if you have a lot of huge, really prominent metal pipes behind the orchestra, surely they would resonate to their specific frequencies, which are, an organ is tuned to the same notes that an orchestra is playing. So maybe it counts as a sort of auto-tune to accentuate those notes. And if something gets played out of tune, maybe that gets diminished in comparison. That's what I thought. And to study this, we studied some pipe organs around the area of Coe College in Cedar Rapids. Here is one such experimental procedure on one of the pipe organs. Basically, almost all of what I did was I played a sine sweep, which is, I'll play it here. Yeah, a sine wave that just sweeps from the lowest frequency humans can hear to the highest to really get all, if one of these pipes responds, we can know exactly how it responds and how many pipes respond, that sort of thing. And then we record the response with a microphone, as seen here. There's a microphone. Here's some speakers playing right at the pipes. And sometimes the microphone was out here, sometimes the microphone was inside a pipe or near it. This next slide is an example of a microphone inside of a pipe, and we can see a super heightened response exactly right there. And that response was at 200 hertz. And strangely enough, that isn't a note. That's out of tune, 23 cents above the nearest note, G. And I know for sure that this organ was tuned the day before we got there. They had it on a ledger. I wish I took a picture of it. But as we found out, the ambient resonance of pipe organs differ from their sounding frequency. So that really complicates things. Here is one of the results when the microphone was outside of the organ, and just getting every sort of response we can get as if you were an audience member listening to it. And there's lots of little increases in amplitude here on the spectrogram. I've circled them right here. And here is some snippets of them. You can actually hear some of the pipes responding. It's sort of faint, but you can definitely hear it even with the naked ear, which is pretty huge for this experiment. And I've done a lot of other really cool experiments like the one pictured here that I don't have time to talk about, but they all led me to the following conclusions. That pipe organ sympathy is only meaningfully happens at high volumes, but they are volumes that are actually typically played by orchestras, so it does probably occur. But when it does occur, it is going to be at sour, out of tune notes because the ambient frequency is different from how it sounds. So it turns out pipe organs probably has a very, very small negative effect on the concert hall acoustics. But this negative effect can be easily ruled out by correct fastening of the pipes, or perhaps putting it behind a wall like the Philharmonie did. And that, for the most part, is my research project. Thank you.
All right, Ash, thank you so much for that presentation. Really cool pictures of all of these pipe organs that you worked with. So yeah, we'll just jump into some questions. So from Paul, we have one. Or sorry, no, it's not from Paul. From Jessica, we have one. So is there a way to alter or repurpose a pipe organ, to positively affect the sounds?
That's a good question, and it's something that I've actually thought about it a lot. Uh, I'm sort of really into acoustical art projects. Like uh, like what if we have a stage full of pipes that are tuned uh correctly tuned to 12 tone equal temperament, and we have a stage like that? Wouldn't that be really interesting tonally? Uh, that's about the extent that I've thought about it. But an altered organ pipe, you can may as well be any pipe at that point.
Yeah, actually following up on that, how would one go about tuning a pipe organ? This is
That's
something,
also a good question. Pipe organs have uh, for the flute pipes, which is the main type of pipe that I've studied for this project. They have tuning holes, or uh, the tuning hole is it's just a cutout hole at the very top of the pipe organ, uh, of very top of the individual pipe, and pretty much you put like a piece of foil that is easier to manipulate than the rest of the alloy of the pipe, and you can just slide that up and down. Or sometimes they have just a piece of foil at the top that you can slide up and down to change the length of the pipe.
very interesting. Um, yeah, that's cool. I was so curious about how one would actually go about manipulating these massive instruments. So yeah, so kind of talking about your experimental music, and like the art form of it. A lot of times in orchestras, you really don't have a pipe organ being played, but have you done into any research about whether a pipe organ would have the same kind of effect if it was being played, or is it only when it's not being used?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot more research that has been done for me about intro organ sympathy, particularly about mode locking of the pipes. Uh, it acts very differently, uh, pretty much when it is being played than when it is just sitting there in terms of uh, how the pipes react to outside sounds. In the case of intro organ sympathy, how they react to other pipes. Uh, so yeah, it is pretty different.
Yeah, but I guess you're really not seeing that too often in like this huge orchestral setting, or maybe I'm wrong about that.
Uh, yeah, it's when a pipe organ is being played, the ambient resonating frequency of the pipes don't really change. Uh, it's it's just that well, I mean, you can read it. There's several papers available on Poma about mode locking between the pipes. It's really complicated, but it's just pretty much not the same effect that I'm looking for. Though it probably does still happen, just overshadowed by mode locking and other stuff.
Well, great advertisement for Poma, which we talked about a little earlier. Great journal. And again, if all of the researchers are encouraged to submit their papers there, and then hopefully all of our media and other people that are interested can read about some of your research there. So now we have a question from Kita. So, have you explored other effects the pipe organ might have, such as changing the color of an orchestra?
Um, I haven't because that's a lot more complicated. There's just a way more factors at play there, and I the its tonal effect is easier to study, a little bit more interesting to me, and yeah, uh, I don't even know how I would begin to try and figure out the color it adds. I mean, it's so subjective, really.
Yeah, these are some really big questions. And yeah, I have one more about kind of talking about something you touched on in your presentation, about the other experiments that you didn't have time to talk about, but that had influenced your research. If you would like to talk about them now, we would love to hear about them.
Yeah, the one that I showed in that picture, I got my hands on a bunch of unwanted organ pipes, and I constructed a miniature portable pipe organ to like get a solid differential measurement from absence of a pipe organ compared to the presence of a pipe organ. That was really interesting. Uh, and I we also like manipulated some other loose organ pipes in our acoustics lab, uh, and to understand in a controlled environment how they resonate, which is where we realize they have eigenmodes and how we verified for sure that the discrepancy between sounding frequency and ambient frequency. Yeah.
Wonderful. Very cool. So I forgot to mention as we were going along, but media can access the press releases about these presentations. In the chat, we have media embargoed links there, which are embargoed until the session time, as well. And you can learn more by going to the Acoustical Society's annual meeting, which is happening within the next couple of days. And again, you're welcome to email media@aip.org to get some registration information. Um, so yeah, the researchers helped us with these press releases a lot, and it really thank them for taking their time to be here today and answer some questions.